Hey guys, Edre here, and I'm going to be doing an album review. I was going to call it a classic album review, but the album is not even a year old. But I'm doing it because this album already has a special role in my out of my favorite recent albums, and that is Post Malone's Hollywood's Bleeding. Hence why I have the blue lights. Although I can change it to red if you'd like. Let me get it to red. You know. Come on. It ain't working. Either way, Post Malone, Hollywood's Bleeding. I'm a huge Post Malone fan. And, Post Malone, obviously, I think has been... You'd have to be living under a rock to not know much about him, but his debut album, Stoney, in 2016, I quite enjoyed. It was one of the best debut albums I had heard in a long time. I also enjoyed some of his previous mixtapes, and the singles like White Iverson and Go Flex. But as much as I loved that album, which is probably a strong 7, 8 out of 10 for me, there was still some flaws. He was still really getting started, and he wasn't showing much progression yet. And that's to be expected from an artist just getting started. But his 2018 album, Beer Bongs and Bentleys, is a near 10. Probably a 9 for me. This album is near perfect in terms of trap comes and trap pop, whatever. You know, not only was the thing like teased with great singles such as Rockstar and Psycho, the whole track list is phenomenal. You have Blame It On Me and Other Side, which are songs that are like deep cuts that don't get as much attention, as well as 92 Explorer, the sleeper hit Better Now, the opener Paranoid, and the more rock-driven track Over Now are all great examples of Post Malone in the perfect form. So naturally, when he announced Hollywood's Bleeding, how much better could it get? I mean, I had already heard Sunflower, Wow, and Goodbyes. 3 wonderful singles, especially Goodbyes. I love the song Goodbyes. I think it's the perfect way trap and pop should come together. I think Young Thug's feature is phenomenal. The production is great, and Post Malone singing his heart out. And then, only about a week or two before the actual album was dropped, the song Circles came out, which I was not expecting to be as big of a hit as it was, although I thoroughly enjoy it, and I love that song. Needless to say, I was really excited for the album, but I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to top Beer Bongs and Bentleys, and in my opinion, he did. The album is one of the most flawless albums I've ever heard. I'm going to get a lot of hate, and please cut me some slack here. I'm not saying that because I just don't listen to that many albums. I've listened to albums that are critically acclaimed that don't really hit me as well. But Post Malone's new album, Hollywood's Bleeding, really does do that for me. Why? Well, because, like I said, I enjoy Post Malone's style, his sound, his aesthetic, everything about him. I enjoy. And everything that I like about him comes together perfectly in the package that is Hollywood's Bleeding. And not only is his content, his singing great, the instrumentals are great, the production is great, the features are great, the writing is great. In my opinion, it's a perfectly constructed pop album, but it's a pop album that has rap, that has rock, that has a bit more of a, I don't know, trap ballad type sound to it. And it starts off with the opening track, the self-titled Hollywood's Bleeding, which already sets the mood for the album right off the bat. I mean, not only does it just start off with the guitar and backing vocals, his vocal melodies on this album are teased really good with this opening track, and he delivers throughout the entire album, and is heavily on the opening track. His talent in making some of the best melodies, some of the best flows, and I gotta give him credit for that. He has the best hooks in the game. I think there's no doubt about that. The next track, Saint-Tropez, is a wonderful just pop trap song with a wonderful catchy chorus, some really fun, memorable hooks and verses. This is a song that, this is what I want to hear from Posty. Then you have the song Enemies featuring DaBaby, which DaBaby brings an excellent DaBaby style verse that fits the song perfectly. And then you get into the more pop rock oriented tracks. The next 3, Allergic, 1,000 Bad Times, and Circles. Allergic giving me so much nostalgic vibes of the sort of pop punk that I used to like a lot, that I still do like a lot. And then you have 1,000 Bad Times, which to me is a pop punk song, but without the guitars and a bit more of a, hip hop sound to it. And Circles, like I said, a lot of the Fleetwood Mac-esque instrumental with his vibrato vocals comes together to make one of the biggest songs of the year. And then you get the more trap-oriented songs. The next two, "Die for Me" featuring Halsey and God damn it, Future and Halsey, I believe. And then you have "On the Road" featuring Meek Mill and Lil Baby, and both songs are. I honestly don't have really any bad to say. I think "On the Road" is one of his best hooks that he's come up with to the day. I think the features add to the song very much, as well as Halsey does on "Die for Me." And then we get the monumental "Take What You Want," the greatest song of 2019, hands down. Ozzy on a Post Malone track with Travis Scott, I never thought would work as well as it did, but oh my gosh, is the instrumental greatly produced by Watt with the excellent guitar solo at the end, but Ozzy's delivery of that hook is so catching and blows my mind that a guy at his age could be on such a catchy, great produced song. Post Malone, give me everything I want in a Post Malone verse. The flow, the rapping, the singing, the sound, the vibrato, the more raspy side of it when he goes a little lower, as well as his more belchy, higher end stuff. And then he gives his hook with that build on the instrumental. And then Travis Scott comes in, and it literally gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. The echo and auto-tune on his voice that is so synonymous with Travis Scott just comes in out of nowhere, and it takes you by surprise. And he delivers a very nice verse, and then they all come together to that. Then eventually the solo. "Take What You Want" to me is one of the greatest songs that I've heard really ever. And I know it's kind of like really ever, but yes, it's my favorite song of 2019, one of the top ones of the decade, and probably one of my top ones of all time now. Then you followed up with "I'm Gonna Be," which is kind of similar, but fits the vibe of the album. And this is where it kind of gets into the more strange side. "I'm Gonna Be" is a very ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. It can get repetitive but when you actually sit and focus, songs are really cleverly written. It's about being what you want, what I want, what I want. And but it does it in such a way that's, the repetitiveness helps the song, I feel like. I think the song that I feel like might be a little bit of a weak part for me is "Staring at the Sun," but either way, it's a well-constructed pop song. And then you go into the song "Sunflower," which I really don't know what else to say other than the fact that it is already an instant classic for me. It's a great song through and through. Sway Lee, perfect delivery. Post Malone, perfect ending. There ain't much to say, but that hasn't already been said. The song "Internet" was co-produced by Kanye West, and was going to have a Kanye West feature. That never got finished, though, but I'm more than pleased with the result. The orchestral ending of the song is phenomenal, and I really don't have anything bad to say about that whole thing that they decided to add at the end instead of a Kanye verse. I do wish the song was a little longer, but it guides into the it's like the perfect intro to the next song, "Goodbyes." Like I said, "Goodbyes" is one of my favorite songs of the year. One of the greatest singles that came out over the summer. Both Posty and Young Thug have a strong delivery. Has one of the best melodies that I've ever heard him deliver. And there isn't much negative to say about that song. And the follow-up track, "Myself," is also one of those songs that definitely takes me by surprise. It's a departure from his Posty's more trap rap sound, and definitely much more of it's a lot more soul and a lot more R&B feel to it. And it has a similar vocal melody to the Offspring track, "Why Don't You Get a Job?" And that's one of my favorite ones on the album because of how unique it is, how natural he feels in this environment. I don't know, that's a great song. And then you get the song "I Know," which is definitely a bit, it's underrated in the fact that it gets pushed aside because it's sandwiched between some great songs, but it just adds to the essence of the album. But then the closer, wow, we've all heard before. Decent pop song, or decent rap song, and good dance tune. And honestly, the theme of kind of being disconnected, trying to like get away from that environment is persistent throughout the album. It may take a few listens to get that, but it's definitely present. And I'm not even bringing up the fact that in terms of the aesthetic, it's in the anticipation behind this album. I don't know. To me, it's one of the greatest albums I've heard ever. I love his delivery. I love the writing. I love the production. I love the instrumentation. I love the blend of rock, pop, and a bit of country and rap, obviously. And overall, it seems like it's a much more personal album than some of his other works. And he seemed to put his all into it, and I have almost nothing bad to say about it. This album, to me, is a strong 9 to a light to decent 10. Honestly, this is one of my albums that I rank a 10. Like I said, I have nothing bad to say about this album, really. I mean, how it ages may affect this a little bit. It may go down to a 9 or 8, depending on how well or bad this thing ages. But in my honest opinion, I think this is one of the strongest albums I've ever heard. He blew it out of the water with this one, even though Beer Bongs and Bentleys was already really good, and so is Stoney, which makes me really excited and a little bit nervous for his future, like really be able to top this. But that's about it for now. Post Malone, Hollywood's Bleeding, a strong, decent 10. That's about it. Sorry I hadn't uploaded the past few days, but, I decided I should make this video. Goodbye.